history of medicine can actually help save lives today. Here at the Battle of Antietam, we're going to take 23,000 casualties, that's killed, missing, wounded, and captured, in a matter of about 12 hours. The whole purpose of this is to put yourself in the... They need to understand that sometimes the best way to save a life is purely with wits and training, not necessarily with the technology available, and this battlefield really demonstrates it.
We once put 18...
We've seen commanders who have come here and said, you know, I learned from the battlefield at Antietam something that I used during relief operations at the tsunami, or that I saw in relief operations around Katrina.
Another gentleman takes the ammunition, holds it out. This guy takes a ram staff and throws it down. Very important, vital. Hopefully going to make it blow up right about there, about 10 to 15 yards above your head.
There are a number of myths that the medical students come to, and quite frankly, it's not shocking because there's not a lot of good popular history that they would have picked up on Civil War medicine.
Give me something for the pain.
Sorry, son, we haven't got anything to give you.
And unfortunately, in this world, our television and movie experience of Civil War medicine is very rudimentary, and in most cases it makes wonderful television and movie, but it makes terrible history because they're looking for the sensational.
This leg's got to come off, soldier.
Oh no! Leave me alone!
There's nothing sensational about a man laying still on a table having been anesthetized. There's wonderful sensation, a man flopping around like a fish, screaming, "Please don't take my leg off."
No, I can't stand it! No, don't!
I'm sure some of that happened. I don't see how it could not have happened. But the reality was that 95% of the soldiers did have surgery under anesthesia, predominantly chloroform in the field, and that they did have pain medication, including morphine, for their post-op pain management.
The American popular public opinion was these were a bunch of butchers taking off arms and legs. European medical opinion, again, the best in the world at the time, was that the American surgeons were not amputating enough. They would an amputation knife like this and would just circle around and amputate the leg, cut through the bone with a saw. Again, they look very, very old. When I first started many years ago in medicine, I actually used essentially similar surgical instruments.
And they said the middle of my foot was gone. My toe basically looked like a sock made out of skin dangling there. And prefer to have it, like I said, I got about 4 inches. It can be a little shorter. I have a couple friends with maybe an inch or two, but anything below that, you're just not going to get enough leverage to work a prosthetic, so it'll end up going above the knee. Got some pictures here. You see right now, it looks fairly normal and whatnot.
When I was first wounded, tourniquet was applied. They used tourniquets also in the Civil War and to stop the bleeding. They, in the 1950s and 60s, tourniquets fell into disrepute and were not used until actually we had started into the Middle East and Iraq.
I think one example, during the Civil War, Albert Sidney Johnson, who was the commander of the Confederate forces at Shiloh, the day before the battle issued an order that his officers were to carry tourniquets to be used on the wounded. The next day, Johnson was wounded himself, shot behind the knee. It severed the popliteal artery, which is the major artery behind the knee, and he bled to death in 15 minutes with a tourniquet in his pocket that could have saved his life.
150 years ago, they were dealing with the same problems. We tend to think, well, gosh, you know, they didn't have to worry about the MRI machine breaking down. No, they didn't. But the basic establishment of how you move troops on and off the battlefield, how you evacuate your wounded, how you treat the wounded, all of these things, that never changes. And what they're seeing is that the people on this battlefield are undergoing exactly the same problems 150 years ago that they're going through right now in Afghanistan in the 21st century. And I think that that's shocking when they walk away from here.